the number of different things you can do with our respective tools inspires us to keep building for you all. There was a quote from Alan Kay that's part of kind of like Notion's kind of like operating values and mission that I think really reflects how much we believe in students here, which is the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And we want to carry that on to you all with today's events, really peel back the curtains and showcase all the ways in which you can be curious, continue to play, and push the boundaries of our tools. So that's what we hope that today's event will evoke. So we want to invent the future with you all together. With that, we'll dive into rules of the road. So next slide. So this session is being recorded. So everyone set your Zoom chat to everyone. Please be kind and encouraging. We want this to be a friendly, safe space for everyone and limit any self-promotion, spam, or hates. We want to make this fun, exciting, and engaging. Next slide. Last thing is we have a merch giveaway. So we're going to be giving out 10 swag packages to 10 winners at the end of the event. You'll need to stay on until the very end, see all the student demos, hear from our wonderful panelists, and you'll be receiving one Figma hoodie, BCNY hats, and one Notion totes. Let's go. Yay. Awesome. With that, I'm just going to give you an overview on the Notion for Students program. We have a few offers here at Notion because we're very excited about students. The first thing is our Notion Plus plan for free. This comes with charts, custom sites, unlimited file uploads, extended guests, tons of amazing features in there. And you get this when you sign up with your university email. Also, once you get that plan, you get half off AI. So this all comes together once you sign in with your university email, go to the plans page and click get free education plan. Second piece is student organizations. We know how important collaboration is to you all. And so we wanted to offer a plan where you get unlimited members to collaborate in your entire student org. So you can sign up using that QR code on the bottom right to get the plan for your entire student org. The third thing is currently we're running a competition for the top campus with the most university signups to win a Notion pop-up at their school. So you can click on that link or find that link there in the middle. Notion.so/Notion Campus will direct you there. And then the last piece, which is the core piece of this entire program, is our community. Our student community is the most vibrant part of our student program. Emily Yick, who is not currently pinned, is our campus leader program manager, and she's brought such an amazing, beautiful program to life. Tons of campus leaders globally building and setting the playbook for what it means to be a student leader, representing tools and empowering students on their campuses on how to use those tools. And so really huge kudos and shout out to Emma. If you want to join and find events that are happening on your campus, click on that link too, and that'll direct you there. Thanks, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I am Devin from the Browser Company. I am leading ARC for Students this year. And on top of programs like this and partnerships with our friends at Figma and Notion, we just kicked off our first Student Ambassador Program, School of Browser, this year. In terms of how you can get involved right now, we have two different things I am putting up here. The first is our ARC for Students newsletter, where we'll be sending exclusive newsletters to students on events, opportunities, early access to new features and products, and more. And then I'm also going to plug our mobile browser while we are here. If you haven't already tried ARC Search, you should definitely download it. It's going to be your friend this semester. It's great for on-the-go questions. We use AI to generate the perfect answer for you, block ads, and it's a very clean and uncluttered internet experience. So come back to that. Passing it to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Devin. Hi, all. I'm Lauren. I lead up our education team here at Figma. And at Figma, we're really passionate about trying to break down as many barriers as possible for you to go from your amazing idea that lives in your head to reality on the page. And so we offer all of the features of our professional tier program 100% free to students. This means unlimited files, version history, collaborators across all of our products. We also give you free access to dev mode, advanced prototyping, and even the ability to publish libraries and show off your amazing work. So any student who goes to maybe more of a traditional school like college or university qualifies, as well as students that might be in a boot camp or an online course. And to get you started, you just need to make a Figma account, verify your education status, and then make sure you upgrade your teams to EDU Pro to get access. All right, without further ado, we can go ahead, drop the presentation. We're going to get started with the panel. All righty. There we go. We got Dylan pinned, Josh. Do we have Ivan pinned? All right. Perfect. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today. Just set a little context about this awesome group of couple hundred people. I think we're at 810 right now that we've got joining us live. Most of these folks today are students. A lot of them are, figuring out what they want to do in the world. Some of them might be aspiring entrepreneurs. Others are just simply people who love all of our tools. So as we're chatting today, channel your younger selves. A lot of you might get asked questions in interviews individually, but it's such a cool and unique opportunity to bring you together and want to see everyone play off of each other's answers as friends. So I'm going to direct some of my questions to specific folks, but feel free to jump in on anything. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Maybe you can tell us your name, the company you started, and 3 words that come to mind when you think about how your friends in college would have described you, at least for how long you were in college. Dylan, could we start with you?
Yeah, Dylan, at Figma. Sorry, my name, 3 words that people describe me. What was the other one?
Your name, what company you started, which I guess is pretty obvious, and then 3 words
Figma.
that your friends in college would have used to describe you.
The first 3 words that come to mind, I don't know is what they would use to describe me, but it's funny because you told me to get prepped for this yesterday with those 3 words question, and I did not think about it at all. But the first 3 words that come to mind are golden retriever energy.
There you go. Though, Josh, from what I've seen of you online, you might want to steal that one as well. Josh, could we go to you?
I think Dylan beats me. I asked my wife right before this, who I met in college, and she said social, curious, and restless. But I will warn you, my wife wanted nothing to do with me in college, even though we met freshman year, and I desperately wanted to do something with her. So take it or leave it, whether or not that was good or not.
Ivan, how about you?
Um, Actually, I just got married last week, and
Oh, congrats. Everyone in the
Congrats!
chat, hype it up for Ivan.
uh, we actually played this game. My wife and I played this game a few weeks ago before getting married. It's like, hey, if we can, let's say one day, the technology is advanced enough that you can recreate the other person. For whatever reason, we got separated, right? Now we need to
Yeah.
recreate the other person. And what are the 3, we actually played this game. What are the 3 words that this, without them, she would no longer recognize me and I would no longer recognize her. So coincidentally, we actually have this today. The 3 words she used to describe me are mischievous, creative, and competitive. Those are. So mischievous is kind of like a more private part of me. It's like I kind of prank a lot for people who know me better. Creative are like just create things, build things. Competitive, she said that I'm not competitive, I'll be like working in a science lab or working like IT department of a large company, just as happy, but wouldn't be doing entrepreneur stuff. So that's her characterization of me.
Love it. Well, feel free to lean into the mischievous energy with this group here. All right, well, let's get started with an easy one. Put yourself back in your college shoes, like a lot of these folks. If you could go back and take like one class or learn like one skill at their age, what do you think that would have been? Maybe this could be a question for everyone.
I suspect it's like a pretty come when you least expect it. It's true. I I think that there's such a diverse group of people. I would never give a recommendation to y'all, but if I was going to take one class right now, it'd be like something about the history of computers and music, because I think that that's a really fascinating topic.
I would do actually my regret with school is like I'll do math. My regret with school is I sort of did math just like complete the exams. You got more, but you sort of don't learn it. You're just like a quiz taker machine versus
Yeah.
like internalize what you actually learn. Math is kind of like a language. You sort of have this kind of few years at school to fully live through, like living in Paris to learn French, right? You can actually do that. Out of school, you sort of don't do that as much. And yeah, I wish I can speak fluent French math, right? So I don't. Yeah.
And I think for me, just I think I would take more classes that had zero bearing on my professional life and did not help me at all in the universe, but they just made me really excited and happy. I think I was a
Yeah.
little too logical. And the thing that I think I wish I knew was I was very idealistic coming out of school, and I still am an idealist, but I wish someone had told me to like look at the incentives more of the places I might work and the things that people there are incentivized to care about. That for better or worse is just like a thing I didn't really think about that I wish I thought about more.
What do you study, Josh? I think you told me.
I hopped around a lot. I started as political science, then econ, then sociology. So every year I had a different major, and then I left.
Amazing. Well, that actually hints at a question we'll ask in a little bit about students, finding opportunities that like really align with things that excite them. But one question I wanted to ask you, Dylan, is I know in college you did like a lot of community building, still even now like bringing together a lot of like-minded people. How did you at the time like find your people, find your community? Like, do you have any recommendations for students about how they can find communities of other makers?
Well, I think the first thing is just make a lot of stuff. The more stuff you make, the more you'll find that some people are like, "Why are you doing that?" And other people are like, "That's so cool. Can I do it too? Can I do it with you?" And the more that you can find the latter, the better. For example, I had this software engineering class at Brown, and everyone else kind of treated it like Ivan said as like a thing to get through. Um, and then I was working with two other guys, one of which is pretty well known, Devin Finzer, now CEO of OpenSea. And we decided just to go like totally over the top and spent like nights and weekends working on our final project and then just kept going. It's like the class ended, but we didn't stop. And
Mm,
what it's was the start of sort of like a longer term friendship. And also I think seeing who resonated with that helped me pull them together. And then I think also we had this department undergraduate group at Brown. It was called the CS Doug. Not a great name. Probably should have rebranded it. Eventually, I think the spiritual successor was like this group called Hackers at Brown. But
mm.
anyway, it was cool because we were the group that was like getting in speakers for the department. And I definitely tried to orient that as much as possible while I was there towards startups because all these big companies coming in. And I wanted to find, folks that had startup energy to inspire people. And so we try to get all these startup companies in, and that was really fun.
Yeah, those are some great tips about getting people together. Josh, if you were to like look more like inwardly as an individual, like getting tactical, are there any like habits or practices that you might encourage students to develop as they're trying to like hone their craft, like build up their own identity as a maker? Anything that you followed along that?
Yeah, it takes one to know one, but one of the words my wife mentioned was restless, and I think you
Mm,
need a little bit of that to be successful as an entrepreneur and a maker. But the thing I wish I learned earlier was the follow through. I think it's
mm,
very easy, especially in today's day and age of Twitter, to like look and see these overnight successes and think that if you start something and it doesn't get there right away, that there's something wrong. And I've learned the hard way that it takes time. The compounding rules are real, and so I think just like sticking with it a little bit longer, putting your head down, paying attention a little more detail. I don't know if I would have taken that advice if I was on the other end of this, like when I was like 19 years old. I'm not sure if I would have done that, but I wish I followed through more on my craft projects.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And Ivan, I know I've heard you speak in previous interviews about like the importance of craft. That's something like we see so evident across like Notion's products. Like, what does that mean to you? How do you think about that?
Hmm. Sort of just kind of like you need to be junkie of something. Find the thing you can be junkie of, and then it doesn't feels like practice, doesn't feels like work, just feels like you just want to keep doing more of it. Right. I was like in college, I really got into maps. So
Mm,
that's actually I learned how to code when I was a kid and just didn't do touch computer programming for a while. And in college, in order to make this map, I cannot draw anymore because if the map is too detailed. You have to go back to programming the map. So that put me back into programming, then it put me back into making video games. Uh, yeah, follow through what, and I just follow through what you're really obsessed about. It tend to work well, at least for me. People are different, but for me, it's like, and it's fun. It's no longer work or study. It's just having fun, right?
yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely, I just want to add, Lauren, real quick. I totally agree with what Ivan said about like trying as much as you can to be super honest with yourself about what really gets you excited. Like, where do you really get energetic? Not what you should or what other people are. I think I didn't have the like self comfort with myself to like just hear that part of me for a minute. And then I think once you feel that thing that gets you going, You know, there are all these things that are difficult about what you do, but if you just really have fun doing it, as cheesy as that sounds, like it makes everything else
Yeah,
easier.
it's like by the time you're college, you're probably late teens, early 20, like, and you sort of know yourself a little bit. And the world, in order to be really great at something, you have to go really deep with one thing, ideally maybe two things. The intersection of that shit is even magical. If you can be good at two or even three things, that's truly magical. But just one thing, right? Go really, really deep. Be the top 1 percentile of that. That's like that create unique value for yourself and for the world, right?
In terms of like doing those experiments in all these essentially different fields and trying things and seeing if they resonate with you, I think it's really, really good advice. And it applies outside of like course selection as well. You know, Josh mentioned dating earlier. Like, this is my mental model of dating. It's like, you have a hypothesis. Oh, I think I want to be with this person. You know, you're going to test the hypothesis and you're going to learn from it. And eventually you'll find the perfect person for you, just like Ivan just did. So.
Perfect tie-in, Dylan. I mean, I feel like I'm hearing like a lot of themes here about like follow through on yourself, but stuff like that can be so tough when you have that like self-doubt or you're not certain about the area you're pursuing. I feel like that compounded with there's so much negativity now and like the media and culture are increasingly negative on technology. Like, how do each of you kind of like strengthen your sense of optimism and play and like kind of leveraging that aspect of fun that you mentioned, Josh, to like keep wanting to go forward even when there might be negativity either coming from yourself or around you?
Yeah, one of the things I've been doing recently is turning to craftspeople and creations outside of the world of software. So it could be film or music or books or whatever. And then this is the thing that I've recently become obsessed with. Let's say an album comes out or a film comes out. In 2024, they probably did a podcast or something like that in some neat, like every vertical, including tech, like in addition to tech, has verticals of podcasts. And hearing the people that made something truly great in some other area and then
Mm.
hearing them talk about like the behind the scenes geeky stuff with the other people in that little world that are geeky about it is just like I found a good indirect way to revitalize my own sense of play and creativity and like enthusiasm for what's possible. So kind of, I guess, shortening as breaking out of the tech stuff or whatever it is that you do and looking towards other creators and other industries and other areas.
Perfect. Well, yeah, play is also one of our values at Figma. So something we think a lot about. Kind of maybe moving on, you know, we've been talking about like things to hone as an individual maker. Let's maybe move on to like bringing others along with you to actually like build a company. You know, each of you saw something missing in the world, set out to realize that vision. Like, what have you learned over the last many, many years over like what it takes and what it looks like to bring new things into the world? Dylan, do you have any thoughts on that?
So many. I think, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier, forming a community can help you find people to work with. And for me, you know, I had the privilege of getting to know Evan Wallace, my co-founder, better through that CS Doug group I mentioned. And he was also in it. That gave me a chance to get to know him beyond a context where he was just my TA. And quickly found out as we did hackathons together and whatnot that like he was one of those brilliant people I'd ever met. And I'd done internships as well. Internships are another example of experimentation and being able to see if you like something. And I met some really impressive engineers in my internships. And I was thinking myself as a junior, I'm like, Evan's more impressive than any of these people. And these are some amazing people. Uh, so that's one thing is just finding the right partners. I think
Mm.
that you know, persistence and time, just like Josh said. It if we had sort of said, okay, we're going to give ourselves 6 months, even 9 months to start Figma, and then we're going to evaluate, we would have gone to that mark and we would have said, okay, well, that's been nice. And Figma would not be here today. It was probably at least a year and a half before we felt like we had something. And,
Mm.
you know, just giving yourself the chance to really take that time to explore you know, it's so easy to say, so hard to actually do. You have to line up the resources to be able to have that opportunity, which is, you know, extremely difficult. Um, you need to also have the conviction in yourself and the folks around you, and you have to know it might not work, but like hopefully you're going into that situation knowing that the skills you'll gain by exploring will be so vast that there's nothing else you could do with your time that would help you learn at such an accelerated rate. And that was what made it very easy for me to decide to take what I thought was a break from college and ended up being dropping out. But that's not to say I encourage anyone in a blanket way to drop out, just that, if you can find a way to learn at a faster rate, why wouldn't you do that? And for me, that made the sort of trade-off of taking time off from college, starting Figma, really obvious. Whereas I think most people see that as this giant wild risk. I never saw it that way.
Yeah. So many things there. Josh, did you also dropped out at one time?
I
What kind
did,
of
yeah.
led to you making that call?
It's funny. I was really torn about it. I thought I was 50-50. And then every single person in my life was like, of course you have to leave for this. Of course you have to leave for this. So I would actually admit in retrospect, I don't think I had as much courage to do it as I thought I did. But it was like the people in my life who were like, this is so you. You have to go do it. So yeah.
That's what led to it. Yeah. I mean, kind of another question for you, Josh, like in listening to other interviews with you, I think it's been interesting to see what a unique take the browser company's taking to like, go towards company building this all-star team, setting very like non-corporate values. Like, how would you say for what you all are building, like your personal values are manifesting in what you're building? And how would you recommend students go about finding teams to work with that can like bring out the best in them as well?
That's a big question. You know, I think what I would say is one thing I'll note is it took me, I think, a long time to have comfort in my own skin for who I was and what sort of company I wanted to build and what sort of thing I wanted to work on. I think it's only with the browser company that it's really been just this like unashamed, very proud, in all of the humility of it doesn't mean it's the right way. Like, let's make this a reflection of who we are. So I just want to note that it took a lot of like time and error and missteps and past attempts to get here. But I think just trying to as authentically as possible do something that reflects who I am and who we are. And in terms of advice for I forget who it was. There was a famous author, maybe it's Zadie Smith, who has some line that like people will tell you who they are. You just or tell you who they are. You just have to listen. I mean, I think you talk about Dylan's golden retriever energy, or Ivan. Like, I'm very lucky. I go back to the people thing that I consider both Dylan and Ivan friends, and they've been there for me in moments professionally, and I think people are who I think you just got to listen. I think what you see publicly is typically you can see it in the way that they show up, even in their products or their communications, and that's true of most founders. So I wish I had some like, oh, you should go to. I just think you got to listen and really like take in what people are saying, and I think generally it's pretty accurate.
Yeah,
I mean,
Ivan
look
and
at this. Look at this event. Look at you, Lauren, everyone that went into this. Like, there are 900 people from around the world, students like that. It's a reflection of that. So, which companies are doing stuff like this?
Yeah, but it can be hard to like sort through and to know like the authentic from maybe what's like reflected externally. Like Dylan, Ivan, like how did you sort through that? Or I mean, I guess I know you started at least Figma like right out of school. So do you have any advice for people about like how they can like cut through that and find something that's really gonna like align with them and bring them alive?
And then like, okay, if people here wants to start company, then okay, the company in order to exist and survive, it has to be a business model. Then you have to like make money on the other end, right? There's something push you to survive as a business entity, and that might or might not align with your value. People are always confused about this, right? It's like it's one thing to exist as a successful business, it's another thing to the successful business what you want. And it doesn't have to, and usually not the same. I think as I'm getting older and got married, it feels like
Changed man immediately.
yeah, and it feels like it's more about at the end of the day, it's like by the time you're 16, 17, 18, your personal value system is somewhat set, right? Then it's not going to change too much. It will change. And at the end of the day, every company decision bubble up to you if you're one of the founders. And if you happy or not depends on is that decision aligned with your value? This is what Josh and Dylan was talking about, like the value related to who should you bring on the company, what product decision do you make, what pricing decision do you make, what's the mission of the company and feature. And at least for me right now, I'm more and more so, it's like it's less about how successful that business is, how many zero behind their number of user or number of revenue. It's more like, am I proud of this thing that when I look back to, I can say, hey, this thing has integrity. This thing integrity align with my values. If I do it again, I'm cool with that. Right. And that took a while for me to realize. Sometimes like it took people decades. It took me decades. So yeah, it's like it's recommend everybody here who's in the audience, like just find your own personal values. If you can write it down, it would be great. Sometimes you cannot put in the words, that's okay too. But just like have the courage to follow that. You know? And be aware of at the same time, if you want to exist as a business, you also have to generate business, all that stuff. But you need to find a constraint that meet both, right?
And to build on that, I think that the best way, if you don't know right now what your values are, what integrity means to you creatively, the more that you can build, the more you can make, the more you can try things, the better, because you will find what they are through that process. And you can do that not just in starting a company, although that is, I think, an act of creative expression, but also I think even if you're in an internship, there's it's amazing how much interns can do, or a new grad can do in just a few months. And especially if you're willing to piss people off. This is what I always encourage our interns to do. I'm like, I know that, you're usually graded according to a rubric, like blow through your intern project and then go just find some problem in the organization, just do it, solve it, and like advance the state of our thinking somehow. And like, just don't take no for an answer. Uh, and just try to, really push through any organizational boundaries you find, whether they're real or imagined. And I think that in internships, you have a unique opportunity to do those experiments. It gets a little bit harder when you're like full-time and whatnot. And I think that people seem to get like have less ability to kind of engage with that risk as they get older for some reason. So, and maybe they're like more wanting to be agreeable in a work setting. And so I think being selectively disagreeable in pursuit of creative ambition is like a really good thing.
Yeah, that's actually like a perfect segue to something I want to talk about, which is that obviously each of the companies that you're leading are kind of like competing against these massive incumbents in one way or another. Like, how do you each encourage an environment where people are taking like big bets, selectively being disagreeable, perhaps pissing people off in the spirit of like taking big swings rather than just like resorting to incrementalism? Because I think that's probably not going to get each of our companies to where they need to go. Is there anything you do to foster that type of environment?
I've been thinking about this a lot because we're in a moment where we have to be our most ambitious. And I'd say the three things for me are one, you got to lead by example. And I think specifically not just the pushing the team to be ambitious, but having fun yourself with all that ambiguity and risk, and the team are kind of like earnestly feeling you and seeing you doing that. I think two, really celebrating failure when someone really took something really risky, like over the top. That's awesome. We tried that even though it didn't work. And then I think the third, which is a lesson I have to learn again and again, and Ivan and Dylan are probably better at it. Say it over again, 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 say it over again. That's like my number one leadership failing and thing I need to get better at. Is just because you said it once or 10 times, if it's important, you got to talk about it all the time.
That's beautiful. I mean, I think like building any company, right, has a lot of highs, a lot of lows. Is there anything you each have, not only for your team to like help them get through that, but for you personally? Because I feel like, especially as like the co-founder, the CEO, a lot of it can like fall on your shoulders. Is there any advice you all might share about like how to get through those high highs or through those low lows that are inevitable?
I think that in general, the more you can kind of cultivate equanimity, the better. It's another one that's easy to say, hard to do. The only certainty of startups is that it's a roller coaster all the time. But if you can kind of, notice but not dwell too much in even an exceptional moment or like a really hard moment, and just know that the next one is around the corner, that's going to set you up for being more level and being able to make the right rational decisions going forward and help guide your organization as a leader.
Ivan, anything that you'd add?
All right, I will call Dylan and Josh and commiserate. No. Sometimes I
That's a
do.
good one too.
Uh, I think I'm lucky. I go to sleep. Like when I wake up, oh, it's like I naturally I'm optimistic. So just sometimes I'm down. I know next day I'll be fine. And
Mm.
go for a run or something. Take care of your body. Your body is so important. You're just a verbalization of your meatball body, right? So
That's great advice. Gotta remember the mind and the body. Maybe like zooming out a little bit, would love to talk about kind of like the macro of the tools that we're using, how you all are shaping them. Ivan, each of you have worked on something, a tool that inevitably like brings people together. But as we're all using AI more and more, we're kind of relying less on our coworkers and our friends to find answers or even necessarily to partner on thinking through ideas. How do you think about this potential drop in human to human connection at work or in our tools as we're navigating into this next era?
serious question.
Yeah,
Uh,
sorry, pivot there.
I don't know. I think in the next 1 to 5 years, probably some of the most critical time in human history with tools, right? Like I'm in New York, Lower Manhattan right now. Electricity was happening here, like 100-ish years ago. Then our relationship with power, generating work, and nighttime has completely changed. But I think AI, it's gonna change that even greater. This version of AI. All trends point into that it's gonna continue. And we're just so bad at simulating that future. And I don't know. So prepare for the change.
Mm. Yeah, no, I appreciate that humbleness.
Ominous, Ivan.
What?
Ominous. You took a serious question and made it ominous. Prepare.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, or actually, the other way
I'm
to
kidding. I'm
about
kidding.
it,
I'm kidding.
Being
it's
very
kind of
mischievous. It's his nature.
also living in the moment more, I would say, because like the future is more unpredictable than the overly worrying too much about it. It just causes, at least causes me anxiety. So I find it myself is like, okay, let me just maybe I shared this with Dylan before. It's like, think about the monkeys living in Amazons, right? That they don't know what's going on. They're just finding the best banana they can find. And they're happy. They're just finding bananas. I mean, if you're building a product, learning something, building a whole new craft, just find your best version of that and live in that day. And that gave me peace with this kind of AI super crazy
Mm.
background that's happening right now.
Find your banana. I think that is the takeaway of the event.
Find your best banana. Yeah.
I think kind of maybe related to this idea is like one design principle that it feels like each of you in one way, shape, or form have like approached your work is kind of like Richard Lowy's concept of like most advanced yet acceptable, or Maya, if people in the chat have heard of that. I think there's like an optimal newness for things without going too far. And, I'm curious how you all think about pushing the frontier while also preserving the familiar and the comfortable. Josh, I'd love to see if you have any thoughts, especially because like the browser is such a thing that has in some ways not changed at all for a really long time, at least in like the lifetime of many of the folks on this call. So any thoughts there?
Yeah, it's funny you called me because I feel like we've done the worst job out of our three products at doing this. However, I will try my best to answer, which is I think we like to think about it in terms of for the specific, you could call it job to be done, utility of a feature, need of a person in the moment. What is the way that we want them to feel? And in certain moments, you want them to feel confidence, self-assuredness that they know how to use it. So, for example, if you want to know whether or not the website is secure or not, that's probably the feeling we want you to have, like confidence that you know what to do and familiarity. One of the things I'm most proud of is if you download Arc and try it for the first time on desktop, we have this way over the top, almost cinematic unboxing, onboarding experience because that's a moment where the way we want to feel is not familiar. We actually want you to feel like you've never felt this before trying another browser. So we've tried our best to think about it kind of moment to moment. What is that part of the product or that flow demand? I will admit that may have led to a bit of a Frankenstein product that I wish felt more cohesive and less bloated. But we're working on it, so it's all going to turn out great. But I would defer to Dylan and Ivan a little bit on how they think about it.
Yeah, Dylan, want to jump in?
Oh, I was gonna say, Ivan, go for it.
Ivan's just eating a banana. I think I saw it.
Yeah,
in the
me
corner
too.
off screen.
I would say it's going back to earlier point, like most people don't want to learn once they're past 20 something. It's like the capacity of learning drops, right? That's why in technology, there's not a, I think Alan Kay's saying it's like technology is whatever happened after you were born, because it's you have to actually learn it. If it happened before, you grow up with it, it's no longer technology, it's just nature. So if you're trying to make your product too new, people are not going to learn it. You sort of have to stay at the edge of it. It's like Andy Warhol is quite good at it. You just change one thing, let's stay at the cliff without falling over it, right? And that's art. Product, you want to even be dumber. Don't change too much. Preserve your energy to change the thing that really matters. And I think that's, at least I made a mistake when you were young. You're sort of like, you're so optimistic. You want to change everything. You believe everybody can follow along with you. That's not true. People don't care. And then another matter principles, nobody give a damn. They're just busy finding their banana, do whatever thing they want to do. They don't care about you, your product, your business. No. So you really have to preserve your energy on one thing, that few things that really matters, and just do a good job of there, and disguise as something familiar. That's like, it took me a while, and especially people in the audience, you're young, you need to aware about your bias. Is like you think other people are like you. That's not true. The customer don't care about you. So
Yeah, I think maybe the more positive way to say it is, keep the simple things simple, make the complex things possible. That's another famous quote. I think that that's very true for Figma. At least we try to make it very true. There's still so much more we got to do to make that truly true. Not everything has to be a home run. And it's so tempting to try to like make every interaction paradigm amazing. One way you can test if you're building a product or experimenting is to put it in front of people and to watch them use it. And you give them a task and you just say, hey, try to complete this task. And even better, try to do it in this product versus some other comp for what they would do the task in today. And you'll find out very quickly where they hit speed bumps, where they get confused. The fancy way of referring to this is like user research, and people will make it overly complicated sometimes, or user testing. But I think like literally just talking to people and putting something in front of them can get you so far, and people forget to do that because they dress it up in all these complex ways, and it's so valuable.
The one other thing, Lauren, I just wanted to add was I actually think a thing that I've changed on is I think earlier in my career there I had this obsession with novelty. Let's just say that you have to like make an input box or a text box or something. Like, what if we made the text box like an oval or something, or like some crazy shape?
Why not?
And now, and I think, yeah, and like maybe that's great. But like I think now everyone's just like, why don't you just make the most beautiful, juiciest text box like ever invented? And so I think obsessing over the craft details of the details and the interactions and the animations and the shadows and just like the details versus, as Ivan said, like if you do something unapproachable and unfamiliar, most people just don't care. So I think that's one way that I've been able to kind of like release the outlet of wanting to do novelty and wanting to like have a kind of more of an artistic expression, is obsess over the details of it and keep the paradigms fairly familiar.
Yeah.
I'll just put one more thing out there, which is like, I hope a lot of you go make that art. I hope you go make like new UI paradigms. I'll be very sad if you don't. So, like listen to us in terms of what it might be important for your future businesses and future products. But like also like if you got cool ideas on new interaction models, like go do that. Really, it's fucking awesome.
I do want someone to make an app where the window is not a rectangle, which you can do with translucency around the edges. So if someone wants to do an art project, make an oval window app, please.
So okay, so make the cool shit, make the special shapes. I think sometimes maybe deciding like where to go with some of this can also get complicated when you have like a really engaged community like Figma, Notion, and Browser do, where people are, very vocal, very passionate. Like, how do you reach balance what vocal people might be asking for versus where in the long term, like you want things to be headed? Like, what have you learned about where you've had to like maybe like push ahead in service of the long-term vision versus like pivot because your community feels so strongly? Has anyone experienced something like that?
Yeah, all the time. I'm like,
No,
you know
sure.
that. But we work together. But I don't know. I think it's like you both have to have that feedback loop going with folks, but also you have to know that the people that like speak up on X or Threads or TikTok or whatever, are not always going to be the perfect sample of your audience either, right? I think most people that speak up on X right now about our most recent UI redesign, UI 3, like are doing so in a way that's like not very happy with it. And it is changed. And to Ivan's point, like people don't like change all the time. And in this chat, like some folks have said really nice things about it. Thank you. But like neither of those are, representative samples. And at the end of the day, we have to do what we think is right for the product. We have to then watch the numbers and see, okay, are people understanding it or not? And then we have to iterate and keep moving things forward and adapt. So that's an example that's live for us right now as we work our way through how to evolve UI 3 and make it the best it can possibly be.
I'm thinking now if we had more oval buttons, it would have been more positively received. Okay, well, we're getting towards the last few minutes here. Would love to do a couple like rapid fire questions. I'd be curious for each of you, if you were not doing what you were doing now in another life, what would you be working on? Stand-up paddleboard instructor. Could be
I still
anything.
hope to do this at some point, but I would love to make public parks or some sort of like kind of public space type thing or a series of them.
Need more beautiful public spaces, that's for sure.
I would do buildings, architecture, interior design, or fashion.
I'll do your Plaza Park, Ivan, collab.
Yeah, let's do a basketball court for Josh.
Ivan asked me this recently, and my first answer, which I don't think he let me get away with, was data visualization.
Really?
Well, I mean, it's not that far from design, but it's
Too
a little
close.
different.
He's
Try
cheating. He's
another.
cheating.
Try again, Dylan.
Uh,
Maybe a quilt artist. That's a pretty badass quilt behind you.
This was Elena did this with someone from Etsy, so I'm very thankful.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of
Elena's my
sheets in
wife.
the chat about the quilt. Ivan, is there a book, film, or piece of art that kind of like stands out to you as like something that's had like a deep impact on your approach to work or your identity as a maker?
I think one might be too strong because then you sort of narrow. It's like too limiting. I'm that kind of person usually read like 5 nonfiction books. Maybe like a meta point I find it useful is like treat books more like magazines. Because in magazine you don't feel guilty not finishing, just flip, right? Books, some people feel so guilty. It's like you have to finish it cover to cover. Then you slow you down. So like sample it and reparagraph it, put it down. I find that really I like that habit of mine.
Yeah, that's refreshing. It makes it like a little bit easier than like the pressure of finishing everything. Dylan, okay, if your younger self was getting a view into the future at, Figma and everything that you built, like what do you think is the part they'd be most proud of?
Oh man. I think that my younger self, well, first of all, would probably go, wait, it took you how long? Seriously, that's all you did? Like, come on, man. But I think the team that we've assembled, and just the folks we have the privilege of working with every day, is nothing short of incredible, and I'm really proud of that.
It's to Figmates in the chat. Beautiful. Okay, Josh, is there something or like a piece of advice that maybe either you got younger or more recently that you like kind of initially ignored or discounted, but have found to be really invaluable over time?
Yeah, someone dear to me told me I should always remember that the truth will set you free. And I thought that sounded like the most fortune cookie I'd ever heard in my life. Like just like insta ignore, disregard. And it has turned out to be so true that I actually like have a sticky on my computer for it. It just seemed overly simplistic, but I've returned to it again and again, and it hasn't failed me yet. So just truth will set you free.
Love it. Love it. Well, if there was one truth or one thing I guess you would impart each of you to like any of these future makers on the call, is there any one last piece of wisdom you might leave them with?
I'll pass on a piece of advice that a professor that I didn't have but was in the department when I was there gave me, Sriram and Brown. And that was, when people give you advice, they're not giving you advice, they're giving advice to themselves in your shoes. And I think it's a very important filter as you take advice on that piece of meta advice. So, oh, and someone knows Sriram. That's awesome.
Ivan, how about you?
Yeah, I liked what Dylan said. It's like kind of like most advice are very contextual. Like it's just don't take that. Think about your context. Think for yourself. First principle a little bit more. That helps. I wish do math more. Find your banana earlier. Find my own banana earlier so you can stick to it, right? It took a while. So
Awesome. Josh, can we end with you?
Oh yeah, I really wanted to say something original, but I honestly just have pretty much the same thing as them. I was thinking, and I hope this has been such a cool event. So thank you, Lauren and everyone, for organizing. I did want to admit though that if there was one thing I learned is that all of these that I went to in college and right after college, just like at the end of the day, you kind of got to do your own thing and figure it out for yourself. So take it all with a big grain of salt. So it was pretty special for me to end the week this way and meet just see the chat explode. But yeah, just go have fun with it and figure it out for yourself. We're winging it too and have the whole way. So yeah, have fun, as fortune cookie as that sounds. Go have fun.
actually, follow to what Josh said. Like we are truly winging. It's like nothing that Dylan, Josh, and I do. We're just normal person. We're just humans. You all have the same nose, same eyes, same fingers. You can do the same thing. Like we're not much smarter than you. So the world's car created. Then watch that Steve.
Probably dumber in my case.
Yeah,
So.
The world are created by people not much different than you are, and then you can do the same thing too. So
Perfect sentiment to end on. Thank you all so, so much. This was awesome. And what a special way to get into the weekend. All right.
Lauren,
Well,
Maya,
without
Devin,
further
thank you for
ado,
organizing.
we're going
We
to bring
gotta make
on
banana
these much smarter
t-shirts.
than us students for their demos. Sorry, I cut you off, Josh. Were you saying something?
I was gonna say I'll never forget that banana sequence, Ivan. I hope we make t-shirts. I would buy one. Put up a Kickstarter.
Banana merch coming soon. We're going to swap that out for the other merch at the end of the event.
Triple collab.
Lovely. All right. Well, Devin,
Bye.
over to you. Thanks all.
Okay, hello everyone. Okay, perfect. That was amazing. I was thoroughly entertained myself just sitting here thinking about this. So we're going to switch over to the second portion of this webinar, which is student demos. We are going to be hearing from 6 different students, 2 from ARC, 2 from Figma, and 2 from Notion, because what better way and who better to hear from on ways of using these tools to organize your busy lives than people who have figured out very cool and unusual ways that they have fit them into theirs. So we'll run through a handful of demos, and I'm very excited for this portion, and thank you in advance to everyone who's participating. So we're going to kick off first with Coco from the ARC local crew. Coco, can you tell us your name, your school, your major, and how you first started using ARC?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Coco. I'm a sophomore at Stanford University. I'm currently studying computer science. And last year, around this time, in my first computer science class at Stanford, I was sitting in lecture in my data and algorithms class, and some guy next to me was using the Arc browser. And I saw it and I asked him, what it was, because I loved the UX interface, and that's something I probably want to pursue later in my career. And since then, I've used Arc, and today I'm excited to share some things that I found out about Arc with you guys. Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so Stanford University uses Canvas for most of the assignments besides for CS classes. So today I'm going to show you guys how I customize my Canvas to make it a lot nicer and more friendly to use. So there's this thing called boosts in Arc that I actually figured out a couple months into using Arc. So I wanted to bring it to your guys' awareness because it's super cool. All you have to do is click up here at the control center and there's this little paintbrush. And what I love about Boost is that it's really easy to interact with. You don't have to be a computer science major at Stanford to understand how to use it. So over here, let me just move this. Over here, you have this like table with a bunch of things that you can customize. So when I use Canvas, a lot of the times I'm in class trying to open up my class page or my homework for that class, and I can get overwhelmed with the amount of buttons that the website has on the page. So what I love about Boost is there's this feature called Zap. And so, for example, if I wanted to get rid of some of the things on the sidebar, all I have to do is click it and press Zap this. And it's really helpful because, to be honest, all the things that I use on the bar are just courses and dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and just zap it. So it already looks a lot nicer. And I'm going to do the same thing over here because I don't use any of these buttons. So I just use the today button. Bear with me. Okay, so now I have a cleaner looking dashboard so far. Next thing that I'm going to do is I love that you can customize your own font. I love the Helvetica New font, but you can choose any font. So like Palatino, here's another font, but I'm just going to click this one. And then I don't know if it's like a Gen Z thing, but I personally like all of my things to be in lowercase. I do the same thing in my calendar. So here you can change the font style of your website. Next, and this is like my favorite part, I get to change the color of the dashboard and so that it matches like my arc theme, I guess. And so I'm just gonna make it like a red pink so it matches like the Stanford vibe, I guess. And yeah, this is my boost. And so you might be thinking, does this apply to the other parts of the Canvas website? And it absolutely does. So if I go to courses and if I want to check in my Latin American literature class, I can click on it and all of the boosts that I created apply here as well. And so if I wanted to go back and find something that I accidentally zapped, or if I wanted just to see it again, it's really simple to get it back. You can either customize the boost again, or you can simply disable the boost. And so I really love this feature a lot, and I do it to a lot of my websites. Another website that I did it to was Google Calendar. So as you can see here, I'm about to miss a little bit of my CS 103 lecture, but it's okay. Over here, there are some boosts that are already created by people and they publish it and you can install it. So I downloaded this one and I really liked it, but the only thing that I didn't like about it is that I didn't have any access to my calendars. So I made my own, and then here you can see in this corner, I have access to my calendars. Anyways, I think you guys should try out Boost. It's wonderful. And that's all that I have planned for today.
Thank you, Coco. That was great. For everyone, we originally saw Coco made a video about this boost and we thought that was very cool. So I'm glad that she got to show it to all of you. Okay, next up we have Alyssa, who is one of our School of Browser ARC ambassadors. Alyssa, hello. Can you also share your name, your school, what you're studying, and how you first started using ARC?
Yeah, of course. So hi everyone, my name is Alyssa. I go to school at USC, so University of Southern California, and I'm studying arts technology and the business of innovation. Let me just start sharing my screen. I'll continue the intro. So share my entire desktop. So yeah, like I first started using Arc because it's a very similar thing. I think almost everyone finds out about Arc this way. Like my friend was using it next to me and I saw them using it and I was like, that looks so cool. Like, what is that? And they were like, oh, it's like this new browser called Arc. And I was like, okay. And then they sent me their little invite link and I got onto it and I kind of never left ever since then. So yeah, like I'll tell you guys a little bit more about why I love Arc and kind of how I use it for school recruiting and like just anything my entire life. So first off, like I just want to mention spaces. I think this is like the first feature you'll probably get introduced to on Arc. It's like the ability to kind of stack your tabs in different like windows almost. So if you're like a Mac user and you have tabs on multiple desktops, this is my replacement for that. I think I've seen my friends do it all the time. And it basically lets you separate your different tabs into different parts of your life. So like I have some for school, for coding stuff, for like recruitment and like art stuff. And it's been really, really useful for me. But you can split up your spaces however you want. And so I think like one really important feature within spaces is like you can group your tabs into folders. So for example, like I like to do a lot of portfolio stocking as many other product designers do. And if you gather them all in a folder, you can kind of right click on it and click share folder. And you can copy the link to this folder and send it to anybody else. And that way they can have access to like all of these tabs in a folder. So you don't have to like copy and paste all the links into a notes page and then text it to your friend anymore. Like this is just a super nice and easy way to share tabs. And the other nice thing about spaces is you can actually like redirect any tabs you open into a certain space. So if you go up to like Arc and then you click on settings and you go over to links and you scroll down, there's this little button called air traffic control. And I like to use this so much because I just open tabs from pretty much whatever space I'm in. But for example, if I typed in like the word USC in the URL, it would automatically open it in like my classes space. So just to demo this, right now I am not in my classes space. But if I go ahead and type in like a USC, honestly, any USC link, it'll go ahead and switch it over to that setting space I was in. So this is so, so useful for someone who doesn't like dragging tabs around and thinks that it's a little bit of extra work. And then the final little art feature that I want to highlight as a designer and like an artist is the easels feature. So you can kind of capture any image on the internet and add it to an easel. This is a little video of me doing it from a Pinterest, but you can do it from pretty much any website. And what's nice is that in your easels, these images, the links are saved. So if you click on the image from the easel, it'll take you right back to the website that you found it. So I used to do a lot of like screenshotting of pictures that I liked and then like putting them on Figma, like Fig Jams and stuff like that to make my mood boards. And this has saved me so much time. And it also has saved me a lot of like, oh, where did I find that picture? Like, I don't remember anymore. Well, it's all linked. And just to like quickly show an easel in action, this is like a mood board that I had made for one of my art projects, like an illustration project. And as you can see, everything's captured from Pinterest. So if I want to go back to this image, I can just click on it and it'll take me right back to the URL I found it from. Super, super convenient and genuinely like a must have for anyone who's making mood boards. And honestly, like changed my life. I love it. And yeah, that's kind of all for me. There's so many different art features, but those are some of the ones I use the most.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. That also those slides were elite. I have to give it to you. Okay, amazing. So those were our 2 demos from ARC. The next set of demos will be students from Figma. So Brayden, hello. Do you want to come up and introduce yourself? Once again, name, school, what you're studying, and how you first started using Figma.
Yeah, let's do it. So hi guys, my name is Braden Peterson, and I'm coming to you from the Great White North here in Canada as one of the Figma campus leaders for the University of Waterloo. And if you're one of the 250 people in Waterloo right now at the watch party, I'm in the glass box right behind you. I'll give you guys a little wave. So crazy how many people came out for this. So I love Figma. And I'm not exaggerating when I say Figma has genuinely changed my life when I first discovered it in first year. It's been my weapon of choice for design ever since, and it does so much more too. So I use it to mock up UI, I use it to create visual identities for my clubs, and because it's such a great collaborative multi-purpose design tool, I also use it to create slides for all sorts of things. And so we'll take a look at that now. So I don't know if you've ever tried to do the same. You know that it's been kind of tough actually to present slides in Figma before. So here's an example of like an engineering project I work on. Here's actually a keynote speech that we built the slides in Figma as well. But it's about to get a whole lot better. And so 2 weeks ago, actually, I led a design workshop at one of North America's largest hackathons, Hack the North. And I built my slides entirely within Figma Slides. Surprise! We're in Figma Slides right now, actually. And so it's everything that you know and love about Figma with everything else that you need to actually get a presentation done. So as you can see, when I hop into the About Me page, for example, we've got speaker notes below. And of course, these speaker notes do appear when you actually do present the thing itself, which is as it should be. And I showed this earlier as well, but you notice that there's actually two different ways to view these slides. You've got the normal presentation way of doing it, but there's also a grid view, which is very more Figma-esque, and it also doubles as like extra mood board space, for example, where you can just plop down a whole bunch of things that won't necessarily appear on your slides themselves. While we're out here, we will also maybe notice this little toggle in the bottom right corner here, which toggles between design mode and slide mode. So we're in design mode now, and this is the full suite of typical Figma tools. So you'll see we have like frames, for example. If I hit the F key, pull out an iPhone. And we've got like things like the pen tool, comments, and full access to your library assets, for example. When I hop back into slides mode, where this is where you can really focus more on building out the content itself. So you have things like text, images, tables, live interactive things, which we'll get to in a little bit, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But there are so many awesome little features that I just love about Figma Slides. For example, like being able to randomize the colors from a set of core colors in your theme. So I'll just click this a couple times, you'll see how to remix. This is pretty like monotone, but you get the idea. But also like slide transitions in the animate panel, for example, where I've just got this on push. I can show that here actually. Yeah, there you go. Actually, hold on, I'm going to get rid of that. I think this is messing it up. There we go. Nice. And this is just one of my favorite features actually, which I would love to show off now actually, is the fact that you can actually put an entire prototype directly in to Figma Slides. And so let's take a look at what that looks like. So we're actually within the slides right now. And if we hit this, you'll actually notice that, whoops. All right, this isn't working here. Let's go over here. You'll actually notice that we can actually embed a prototype directly into our slideshow. And so when we actually present it, it has full interactivity. I can show off this website redesign, for example, that we're working on for Socratica without ever having to switch tabs. So this is super, super cool for design crits. Everything works, variables and logic. So it's pretty sweet. Let's hop into this awesome slide with a quote from Dylan that I agree with 100%. And so there's another thing that's super handy in a pinch if you've ever run into writer's block like I do, and that's the adjust tone tool. And so what that does, it is in the AI beta and it'll help you rephrase things. So let's say we want to make this quote, probably shouldn't be editing quotes, but let's say we want to make this a little bit more professional and concise. You can actually drag this over here and we'll wait for it to adjust the tone. And look at that. It gives us another way to rephrase what we just wrote there. And of course, it would not be Figma without live cursors. So I'll hop into over here. You can see my friend Shivam in the file with me. I can use cursor chat to say, hello, Shivam. And he'll say hi back to me. And you'll also notice that on the middle here, I've got this awesome interactive widget here. And so when someone actually does vote on it, we can actually see the results in real time. And so this is super, super helpful. For example, don't know what's going on here, but say like, oh yeah, for example, and then you'll see that actually pop up right where it is. And so that's super, super cool. I like to design my own slides, but if that's not so much your speed, you can always hop into the community tab where there are so many really, really good templates available for you to use, edit, and it's super easy to change the colors if you want a different theme, change the fonts, and everything is just really great outside of the box. So to be honest, I'm just really happy that there is something other than Google Slides or PowerPoint on the market right now. And it's insanely exciting to know that this is just the beginning for Figma Slides. Thanks, everyone.
That website was so beautiful. Are you kidding? I would have been so happy to have something like that when I was in school working on something. Okay, we're going to continue to move through. The second demo from Figma is Faye. So hi, Faye. Introduce yourself and
Hi. How are you? My name is Faye. I'm the campus ambassador for Figma. I'm also a junior at the University of Michigan studying computer science and UX design. I first got my hands on Figma towards the end of my freshman year, when I started taking more design and UX classes and kind of just learning what design was overall. But since then, the tool has kind of been a part of my everyday life. And something that I wish I learned a little bit sooner was that it could be applied to not just my design classes, but all of my academic and professional endeavors. So today I'm going to show you guys how I use it for one of my coding classes. And I'm going to share my screen right here. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Awesome. So here I have a FigJam file, which in general is really great for anything with collaboration or brainstorming any ideas. So let's say here I have my group coding project. You can see that I invited all of my group members here because let's face it, sometimes Michigan winters can get a little bit brutal and we need to work together, but while not actually walking to the library and literally being together. So down here, we can see that we have these basic shapes here that we can use for our project to plan out how something like an overall program can be structured. Or we can also show more specific function flows like here, right here. We can also add in cool things like widgets, like this code widget, where we can show different things like Sabrina just added right there. And that is, yeah, sorry. Okay, but also let's say that we have a project that involves something a little bit more complex, like working with databases. We can go here and show these flowchart shapes down here. And we could use something like this cylinder to create diagrams to show more complex processes, such as maybe having a user input feed into a processing function that then stores that data into a database, which we can see Mega just kind of drew out there. And then let's say we have to get even more specific with our planning, like maybe dealing with some different data structures or more complex logic flows. Well, Figma has a ton of plugins to help with that. And one of my favorites here is the UML diagram one. So here we have the ability to map out classes, objects, show their relationships, and just like show at all the specific attributes that we might need for our project. If our program involves any sort of higher level interactions, we can show how all the data flows in between them. And there's different plugins for basically everything. And the best part of all of this is that it's all about collaboration. So while I've been talking and demoing, you might have seen all my team members in the background who have been contributing, throwing out ideas, and making live edits right in this file. So now I'm going to do a little bit of this transition, but speaking of being prepared, let's talk about exam season because I know midterms are coming up, at least for here in Michigan. I know a lifesaver for me is when we're allowed to bring reference sheets into our exams. So here in Figma, I always make all of my reference sheets on a Figma design file where I can fit everything one possibly might need for an exam. And I mean literally everything. So something that I really like about Figma, other than being able to fit everything, is that I can take screenshots, add in text, any sort of things that I've drawn out, basically any sort of reference material that I find helpful. So let's take this diagram that Mega had drew earlier today, and let's say that we want to put it in my file. So I can copy this here as a, sorry, can you see my screen? I can copy this here as a PNG, sorry, and then paste it into this file wherever it seems fit, and then resize it accordingly. Just like that. And we can drop it, I don't know, maybe here. And though I might need a magnifying glass while I'm taking my exam, at least I know that I'm prepared with all the things that I need.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Faye. That was great and so cool. Again, I didn't get to bring in sheets like that in college, so I see that and my jaw dropped. Okay, amazing. For the last couple minutes, we are going to move quickly. We're going to run over a few minutes, but we have 2 more demos from students from Notion. So the first is Vinci. Vinci, come up, introduce yourself.
My name is Vinci. I'm just going to do my quick intro with sharing the screen. Oh, okay, here. So, hello everybody, my name is Vinci and I'm a 4th-year student majoring in theater production and design at University of British Columbia. And I'm working as a event planner and media related job. And I'm actually the first cohort of the Campus Leader program since 2022. The reason why I start using Notion is because when I was in grade 10 back in like 2018, like DTA is the Notion ambassador in Taiwan. And then we become friends and he just showed me like, oh, how Notion impacted him. And like, we just start like chatting about Notion. So like, yeah, because I was struggling with like managing my life with like a tiny weekly planner. So like, that's how I got started. And this is the first page that I'm gonna present for today. This is the first page I created on Notion and also the first page that I open every single morning. As you can see, like there's lots of tabs inside this page and also like there's an assignment tracker for me, a work checklist. And my favorite features of this page is actually the toggle. So I normally like toggle all the unnecessary tab when I feel like, oh, this like I don't really need it at this moment. I just toggle it and it just show like a very clear page, like a home page for me, and I can find the resources that I needed. It just make my life so much easier just because it's very handy and also it's like my own Wikipedia and I can access it like everywhere whenever I go. And as I enter to my production era, like actually it's my 2nd year and I start like doing sound designer. And my day-to-day life is actually a nonstop communication between like different group of people. And I want my team to have like a theme page, like, oh, it's like an approachable space, not just for them to feel overwhelming. So this is the production calendar and also is my favorite part of the whole production is like we can sort it by tags and then we can see like, oh, like what is the team progress right now and what is the meeting that we are going to do. It's all at this page. It just helps me to always stay on top of everything. And back to the third part that I want to showcase is my favorite features of like Notion site. Because I think the major point of Notion is like building the personal and community branding. So I'm just gonna show 2 examples. The first example here is Notion at UBC. So actually as a campus leader, we normally need to do like a lot of events. And also like we have lots of like campus leader on our campus. So this is like a gallery. We use database to collect all of our info. And this is just a showcase, like we embed Luma inside. And then so you can see the events that we're gonna host for the future. And scroll down, here is our partnership form. So if they have any like common suggestion or they want to request an event, they can like fill in the form. And I feel like this dashboard just contains all the information that we need to share as a like to the public as a website. And yeah, and dive into the Notion site. I feel like it's not only be used for the community or even like student organization. It's good for like personal use as well. So this is my proudest page. It's the portfolio. So I create my own like Notion portfolio and I share to the HR. And actually I did get some internship and job opportunities because of this, because I can put like, you can see like I put pictures here, like, because I'm a photographer as well. So I'm just put the picture inside of it so that they can see like my portfolio here. And I feel like with the public here, there's like a share and publish. So when I like with the public share features, I feel like I'm not only just building like a dashboard, I'm also building a stronger brand image for my personal use and also for the whole team as well. So yeah, I think Notion is actually pretty good for me to like when I have a problems or issues is a really good like lifeline for me and it's like it's a key for me to break into different aspects of my life. So I really hope that you guys could like Notion could impact you guys as much as I do. So that's all I want to share for today. Thank you.
Amazing. I also have my entire brain uploaded in Notion, but I do not use serif fonts. So that's what I took away from that. That looked beautiful. Okay, we have one more demo and then we're going to announce the raffle winners. So don't leave yet. Don't leave. Our last demo is Mari, so take us away.
Hello, everyone. Let me just share my screen. Okay. I hope everyone can see this. So I'm Mari Gary. I'm a junior at University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I started using Notion back in high school it's been around half a decade now of me using Notion. And I always like to say that I grew up with Notion and that I'm just so excited to share my love for Notion, how I use it, in my day-to-day life. So let's start with I think this is like one of my favorite parts is my class organization. So as you can see here, I love the color green and I also love Vincent van Gogh. And so I decided to add all those elements into my little own space. Each of my classes I have over here, which actually is its own page itself that are all, color coded. And it's so helpful just to have each space to have my own part for each class, as well as over here. I I love this is like my to-do, so I can put something like, hello, everyone. And you can see it from this page, and it's in a database. So I love using databases for different functions. And then I would say, going based off of what Ivan said previous, is this is my banana, which is my Canvas Notion integration, which I made myself because I always found it was really hard to manually put all of my Canvas assignments from my Canvas page into Notion, and it would just take forever. And then I realized I could just code it. And so I actually did. And so right here, all of this is not even anything. All I had to do was run code and it was automatically put in. And something I love about Notion is the integration with the Notion calendar, because all of these assignments automatically go into a calendar. So all of my assignments, as you can see, are in the calendar and also sync up with my Notion calendar. So this is my favorite part. And I just want to show you a little bit about how it works. So if you go to my GitHub, which is, you can see up here, and if you just follow the instructions, you will have to download some code, but I love using this. It's so helpful, and it's also great to see how helpful this is for other people. I was on there's this anonymous platform called Yik Yak, and someone was like, hey, how do you use Notion? I need help with something. And I ended up messaging this person who I still don't know to this day. And they're like, how do I get all my Canvas assignments into Notion? And I was like, I'm actually the perfect person to talk to because I literally coded my own integration and they used it. They loved it. I want to make this more accessible, and I will be working with Notion in the future, luckily, to make this more accessible for all students. But you basically just follow these instructions and then you'll get your own gorgeous little database table just like this that you can use anywhere and including in your calendar. And it was also great because I was talking with Emma before this about how someone else at Notion wanting to teach her son how to add all of his Canvas assignments, and being able to help someone just across the country is just so fantastic. And I hope you guys all at home will use my integration and to make your life a little bit easier. That's really my main case. One other thing is for my CS people out here is this blind 75 leak code tracker which each in the database has each instructions for every single question, as well as a place to put your own code, as well as notes. And maybe you like someone else's solution, you can put that right there if you want. But overall, this is how I use my Notion. I hope you guys enjoy. It was very lovely to share it with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mari. That was so impressive, as were all of the demos. Okay, to wrap this up, we're going to go over a few final tiny little things, and then we are free to go. So thank you to all of our demos. Seriously, so impressive, and we're all inspired by you. So thank you. And to announce, as we mentioned, we'll be giving away swag from each company to 10 people who are attending the webinar. So if your name is on this list, then you can email education@figma.com and we will send you next steps in terms of getting your hat, sweatshirt, bag, full outfit shebang. We will also find a way to get in contact. Keep this up for a second. Okay, cool. Thank you everyone so much. If you need to get in contact with any of us, here is more information. You can email us or find more information on each of our sites. And I just want to say thank you to 1, everyone who's here, 2, everyone who demoed, 3, I don't think they're here anymore, but Ivan, Josh, and Dylan. And lastly, to all of the people who made this possible, Lauren, Maya, all of the people on Figma and Notion team who stepped up, as well as browser company team, dream team, and so excited to do more things like this. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you. And with that, have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.